Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Above the Bar podcast, where each week we belly up to the bar with a new guest, find out what they do, who they are, and what makes them great. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Alrighty, folks, welcome back to another episode of the Above the Bar podcast. We are bellied up to the bar again today. It is Wednesday. The bar is open. If you all are watching the visual side of this, you saw that we had a brand new opening with the new logo. If you're listening to the audio, you also heard that, so you still get it both ways. Just like one of our guests here, Keith, gets it both ways. So we have this opportunity today. We've brought in two experts, 1.5 experts in the field. We're talking today.
And Keith is here too.
Exactly.
Because we're in slow motion.
We brought in today somebody who understands a process, who, in my opinion, from an entertainment standpoint, he's doing something that reality of it is most people wouldn't venture into this world, especially today with the way we look at things differently in society. And we brought with us, and I love the fact that he's like, this is like having Cher or having anybody else who's a single name that I just can't think of right now, Prince, any of those. We brought with us today Drew the comedian.
I love the sitcom track.
Isn't it great?
I'm going to use that for my joke clips because nobody laughs. They just ooh.
Well, it makes you feel, it makes you feel better. Like,
there we go.
Some point, and Keith's on here somewhere too, folks. I don't know where he disappeared to. He was here with me for a moment, but we're talking about a subject that is, well, it really truly is. If you saw the post this week, dark comedy, blue comedy, cringeworthy comedy, and kind of the concept of, is this still a thing? Can you still do it? Or have we kind of ventured into a realm where you're not doing this anymore? This is not a valid process. We lost Keith already. This is
fine.
not.
He's an inbred anyways.
See, and that's, that kind of gets into what's acceptable in the comedy world. Drew, go ahead and say hello before I run off with this thing and just describe it and never actually talk about it.
Yeah, of course.
Housekeeping.
So just to touch on that, what you said is a very important question that I think a lot of people should be asking is, what is okay to joke about? And I think that question has been asked a lot, and there's a lot of various different answers. Best answer I've ever heard comes from Patrice O'Neal, R.I.P. to Patrice, one of the greatest comedians to ever live. And he famously said that as long as the intention is to be funny, you can say absolutely whatever the hell you want. Your intention is to joke. And I tell this to a lot of people because, I joke about everything, and that's part of the way I get away with saying a lot of things that I do is I start with topics that I know are a little bit less taboo, and I ease them into it, kind of like a sliding scale, where at the end of it, I'm talking about the Holocaust or Kobe Bryant or George Floyd. But I started out with, maybe gay marriage, maybe Catholics, things that people are a little more white people than Hispanics, and then you ease into it. So that's what I do to try to get away with it. But as long as the intention is to be funny, to make people laugh, and it's just the intent is everything. I mean, if the intent is to joke, then you're fine with it, at least in my opinion. I tell people a lot because it's really weird. The people who get offended at my jokes aren't usually the target of the joke itself. It's people being offended on other people's behalfs. And that's really weird to me because, for example, if I do a black joke and the black people are all laughing, but the white person's offended, and the white person tells me, which has happened before, where I've had white people tell me, you can't do black jokes. I'm like, first of all, you have no say in this as much as I have no say in this. And second of all, it's more racist to think that you have to stand up for a different group of people because they're too thin-skinned to take a joke, um, that you would be fine if it was directed towards your people, but these people are so sensitive. This group, this demographic is so sensitive that you should not joke about them because they don't have a sense of humor. That, in my opinion, is more racist, telling people that you can't joke about things when your intention at the end of the day is just to make a joke. And I would have, and plus, when I make a, let's say, a race joke, I'm playing with stereotypes that are already existing. I'm not creating any stereotypes. I'm not saying anything that hasn't been, that nobody's heard before. I'm just using clever wordplay and wit to play with what you already have established in your head as a previously existing stereotype. So I'm really not doing anything other than just kind of wordplay. And if you get offended at that, but 10 jokes down the line, you were laughing at the Catholics and you're laughing at the Hispanics,
Right.
that kind of, like, you're cherry picking at this point. I have more respect for someone who's completely offended by everything I say than someone who's like, I liked half of it, but that one joke really messed me up.
I get, I understand what you're saying, and let's get it. I want to get into that. Let's do our housekeeping real quick.
Of
So
course.
first things first. If you liked the opening, you liked a lot of the pictures that we had. Media by Dibs, your connection for all things media, from logos, marketing
Shout out to
campaign.
Media by Dibs. The guy's an animal.
He is
Dibs.
amazing. Uh, make your ideas a reality. Mention the phrase "belly up to the bar" for 10% off your first order and your free consultation. Also, as always, sticker and a cause. If you've got something, whether it's you're doing comedy like Drew and Keith, you've got a charitable organization that you're supporting, something local, I don't care what it is. If it's something you believe in, you've created a sticker. Hey, if you reach out to Keith, he'll get you stickers made. Um, reach out to
Right,
Dibs. Here's what you got to do. So you can have Dibs make your design, and then Keith will make you a sticker, and then Dibs will make you shirts that you can wear the design on. And then at some point, Drew will make fun of you for
I
what you're
was just gonna say
wearing. And then you
that.
can come on here and complain about the fact of what happened, and we'll advertise everybody again on here. So it all comes full circle, sticker and a cause. And the last thing is, we always want to grow the bar. Everyone is welcome at the bar. Everyone has a right to sit here and enjoy the bar with us. So with that said, make sure you take a moment and share this to every yard sale site that you belong to. And I'll have to ask in a minute. My cousin Aaron wants to know who is the broken guy. I'm assuming she means you, Keith. That's my cousin Aaron wants to know who's the broken guy.
Oh, I just can't get anything to work. It's infuriating. I say I'm
Well, I
broken too.
mean,
It's broken English.
um, that's great. My cousin said, "Who's the broken guy?" So make sure you take a moment, share this to all the sites that you belong to, so that they all get this opportunity. Because remember, the goal with sharing this is to get kicked off of every yard sale site that you possibly could belong to. So that is
You
our
get
goal.
kicked.
Yeah, all the
You want to
yard
get kicked
sales
out of a yard sale?
out of a yard sale site. Well, the best one was earlier before the show started. Drew said that Keith looks like he works at yard sales for a living, which is funny to me because there's a huge one in North Florida that my grandmother used to actually sell leather goods at, like belts and belt buckles and everything. So I'm like, I
Oh, I
know
didn't know
that.
that was a full-time job. I
Oh
really,
no, I'm sorry, Drew. My cousin meant you. He's actually in his bed right now, Aaron, because he has COVID. This is how dedicated he is to his craft. He has
and it's
COVID.
not asymptomatic. It's like I'm dying.
Like, he's actually dying. This could be his farewell show. We don't know. We haven't quite figured it out
It's
yet.
gonna be a fun eulogy.
He is wearing a U shirt, so I'll have to hook him up with one of the Marines that I served with, who actually has like a monstrous podcast that's that's a video style show on YouTube that is nothing but about the U.
Really? Ed Reed follows me on my other Instagram.
Does he
That's
really?
a
That's
yeah,
pretty
that's a cool
impressive.
little plug. I
That
got a picture with Willis McGahee, DJ Dallas. I'm a huge fan, bro.
Well, those are two. You've already named two Baltimore Ravens. You want to keep going?
Yeah,
I
yeah. I
think
Okay.
like
mean,
you're
I
wearing your
wish I met
boyfriend.
Ray Lewis. That's one of
Uh,
my favorites.
yeah, Ray. Would
Yeah,
you say, Keith? He looks like he's wearing his boyfriend's shirt.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's
it,
adorable.
it is quite adorable. Look at you. Uh, So, all that being said, so dark comedy. I actually meant to do this a minute ago. I wanted to actually look up the definition of what is dark comedy because I think, me personally, it's a very subjective and a sliding scale of it. Because Drew and I were talking about this beforehand, and we really want to approach this from the standpoint of how has it changed? What are some of the things that have changed about dark comedy? Because I can remember growing up, both of us said one of the best movies we ever watched was Mel Brooks' Blazing Saddles. I don't know if you could even begin to approach to make a movie like that today. Now this
I
is
don't think
what
you could even self-produce that type of movie.
now this is what
Mhm.
it comes up for Wikipedia. Um, Black comedy, also known as black humor, dark comedy, morbid humor, edgy humor, gallows. I've never heard this one.
Yeah, it's
Gallows
gallows
humor.
humor. Yeah, that's what I was going to
That
say it
sounds like
was. And
well. Keith is actually probably the most educated next to I don't know. Drew, did you get past ninth grade?
I'm a high school dropout,
I knew
so
it.
yeah,
had four
Some things you
books.
just know in life. And
yeah.
Keith is like, and if you knew Keith, Keith is actually the most well spoken. And Keith and I have talked about this, and I want to get into this also, where dark comedy touches the Appalachians because that's a real. But that's that sliding scale. But let me finish this.
Poverty.
It says light or subject matter that is generally considered taboo, particularly subjects that are normally considered serious or painful to discuss. This is look. I mentioned Blazing Saddles, and my man Robert and I went to high school. He's another big Ravens fan. Yeah, see, he again, Blazing Saddles would never be done again. Pat and I grew up together. No, it couldn't be done. My cousin Aaron, though, Clockwork Orange. Is Clockwork Orange dark humor? I think it is.
Not today, it wouldn't be considered.
But isn't
No,
one of think
and
about the
that's
scene
the
when he goes to the win with the card. Do you remember the scene when they're handing him the flashcards? And they show the guy trying to break in the window, and the woman's got the blanket pulled up, and he goes, "No time for the old in and out. Love just came to read the meter."
Tally-ho.
I
yeah.
mean,
I don't
that's
think a scene would define an entire movie as dark humor. There is a sliding scale, and a thing to note also is that with today's dark humor, why there's less of it, I think it's not even more about like PC culture. I think it's 10 times harder to do nowadays, not even because everyone's so sensitive, but because at first when dark humor first became a thing, you could get away with saying stuff and getting huge laughs or huge reactions, at least from the crowd, just off of shock value.
just
Shock
because nobody
value
else has said it.
Exactly. Shock value nowadays does not work at all. You will hear a pin drop in a room. If I go on stage and just say something like so ridiculous or
It's
asinine,
outlandish,
like rape isn't that bad. I need to have a
right?
point along with it. But 30 years ago, I would have gotten the whole room to be like, he just said what? Like, because they're used to late night comedy and stuff. So just the juxtaposition or such the difference of like someone actually being able to say this and not combusting all of a sudden is like something that gets them shocked. Nowadays with the internet and stuff, everyone's seen and heard everything. I got
Right.
to be clever on top of
Well, I was going to
shocking.
say, is the audience so the biggest thing is we're also much more aware of. I don't like the term woke. I can't stand it. You're aware of other people and you respect other people. That's what that really should mean. Stop saying woke. You just sound foolish. But the reality of it is how much does that affect things like that, like being able to do what you do, like the fact of that you do this is it. People know that hey, if you're going to see Drew, he's going to say some stuff that you're not going to say to your mom.
Mhm.
Yeah,
You're gonna hear some
of course.
shit.
Stuff
And
that is not acceptable at Thanksgiving dinner is probably going to be said.
so so
How do you approach that? Or really better than that, I'm gonna back it up even one more, Drew. Where in your head did you go, I'm going to take this risk? Because it truly is still a risk. Like clubs could turn around and be like, "You're not doing that in our club." Have you
mhm.
had that happen?
Not not yet. Um, clubs really honestly care more about selling tickets, and I've been pretty good about selling tickets. I think that's an important thing to note is that you have to understand when you're getting into dark comedy that you're not going to be liked by everyone. 80%, it's probably I might have an accurate number, but 80% of people are not going to like what you do. You're looking for that 20%, but that 20% is a fan base that is going to ride with you harder than they would with anyone else. Kevin Hart got canceled from the Oscars for some tweets he
Yes.
made 8 years before then, but
It's
that's because
ridiculous.
he's known for family-friendly comedy. If someone were to try to cancel me for something I said, they'd be like, "Have you not heard anything he said? Like all of it's outrageous. Like this is why we like him anyways." And so anyone who would try to cancel me wouldn't be someone who buy tickets to my show anyway. So I don't care what their opinion is. My stuff's not for them. And I'm not there to offend people. Everyone has a different sense of humor. And so like my last joke I posted is about my mom having cancer, which is 100% true. And the audience had a worse reaction than I did. I'm like, it happened to me. Like you guys don't
Right.
even know my mom and you guys are oohing like this actually happened and I made a clever joke out of it so I can like move on and cope with it. And like so it's I don't have a hate in my heart. So I know that I can say this stuff with confidence. I mean, I've had two gay roommates. My current roommate's black. Like, I don't care who you are as long as you're not a shitty person. I don't even see that stuff. And so like to me, I'm Hispanic. People see me as white. I don't view myself as either. I'm just me. And so like for me, it's such a different mindset and different mind frame, but I'm not there to offend anyone. I I I make it very abundantly clear. I do dark comedy shows where it's only dark comedy and I'll headline it. So you were watching six people do Auschwitz jokes before I even get on stage. So if you got offended by me, then you should have left a lot earlier. Plus, the first thing you see on my Instagram is dark humor in all capital. Like if you don't like that stuff, don't click on it. But the issue with people who get offended is they need to get offended. It's moving on from one offensive thing to the next, and they need to be preoccupied because they have too much shit in their life that they don't want to deal with, that they want to point the finger at other people's and say this is what's wrong with the world when I'm making people laugh and stuff. Like you don't have to click on my profile. It says dark humor. If you know that you don't like dark comedy, don't look at my videos. But then people will click on it and be like, "Oh, now I'm offended," and then
Well,
report it
that's
or
the Stern
something.
thing. Well, that's what Stern used to say. He said, what was the whole thing? My fans listen for people who love me listen for 10 or 15 minutes. People who hate me listen for the whole 4 hours.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And
and
that's
so
really part of it. Um,
We're in a
and,
different
and
time now. Like, the Stern stuff was not that far long ago, but now we're living in a weird time where, some publicity is bad publicity now. Like it's that selective outrage bullshit that people could just be like, oh, I want to feel important, and people think that I have a take on this, while I really don't. I'm just gonna make something up to be mad at, and then just screw somebody else's money over for that, basically. It's
well, Robert
but
brings up a good point. He says, you can't go to a show knowing a comedian's track record, then piss and moan when something said hits close to home, then laugh at everyone else being the punchline. So you're fair game. Well, that was something I was thinking about with some of this different stuff in the different realms. Like when you were talking about knowing what a guy's show is, you didn't go to a dice show and not expect foul language. Um,
you don't go to a Leonard Skinner concert and get mad that they played Sweet Home Alabama. It may,
right,
no,
it
you
right.
would it would
don't.
make absolutely no sense. Like you know what you're
You just
going
hit
to
home for
see,
Keith. That was Keith's prom song. That was
and
Play
that was graduation music.
play at my
also
funeral.
people have this real big issue with comedy in general where they like see a comedy show or a comedy club and they're like, let's go check this out. Like you're not even going to look at like the comedians that are
Right.
performing. Like you're not going to look them up. You're just going to go to a concert and not even know what genre it is. Like you would never do that. You wouldn't go into a movie theater and just be like, what's playing? Like
Right.
you would do some research.
Spin the wheel, and I'll go see that French foreign film that I never had an interest in.
Exactly. So like you would do some sort of research, but with comedy shows, people just like because
Yep.
it's not as popular, they're like, oh, so we just go there and they'd laugh. No, I might make you cry. It depends on the person you are.
Now I'm going to tell you right now, and if the two of you haven't looked into this, I send the guy who owns this company messages regularly, praying that he will accept the fact that Gunnery Sergeant Murphy who's a character in one of his shows is me, and that he needs to go ahead and hire me now. If you have not gone on Vet TV yet, that is Vet TV is 100% built for veterans, and it's veterans dark humor. Drew,
Hey,
if you ain't seen that shit yet,
And that's a good
the
point
whole
to
channel.
touch on. That's a good point to touch on because my dad was in the Marines for 8 years. My uncle was in the Army. So like, and everyone here, my mom, my dad, my uncle, my entire family was all born in Cuba, which is a third world country. Shit is horrible over there,
Good
but
food.
great food. I mean, good food comes from oppression. Like Andrew
young
Scholes had
moms.
a joke. Andrew Scholes has a great joke where he's like, anywhere where the men are like, "Hey, women, get back in the kitchen," the food comes out better from the kitchen. So like,
Banging.
it's it's
Well,
true,
Keith
but
and I were
also
talking about
like,
that for dark humor with food. Have you
yeah,
Skinning. Yeah.
have you ever seen? Now, this is a perfect example. Now, Drew, I hate to cut you off because this just came to mind to me. So you make a joke similar in that vein. Everyone's up in arms. I can't believe him. I can't understand why he would do that. Chappelle does the Anthony Bourdain joke. Have you ever seen the Anthony Bourdain joke that Chappelle does about suicide?
Seemed
I've
like he had
seen
the
all
best
of
job.
Chappelle's specials, so probably I just can't think of it off the top of my head.
He does this whole thing about he goes, Anthony Bourdain, best job ever in Hollywood. He got paid to go to exotic places, eat exotic foods, stay in the best locations, meet people, hung himself in a hotel in Paris. And then he goes through this whole story of a friend of his who had a horrible life. All kinds of bad things happened to him. And he's like, asked the guy, you should just kill yourself. Why haven't you done it? It'd probably be a better plan. Like, that's as dark as you're going to get in my book. Looking at another person being like, your life's that bad?
I
I
do
got
remember that one where he's
it.
like, yeah, and you
But why
haven't
does
killed
he get away
yourself?
with it?
Like, yeah,
Why would he get away with it? And if you and Keith did something like that, I should go this way because you go that way.
Too big
well,
to fail.
What's
there's
that?
yeah, there's
Too
there's a
big to
lot
fail.
of comedians where they've already it's like what I'm saying, like me coming up, I'm not going to start clean and then go dark. That would kill my career. But if
Mhm.
I build an audience on the darkness, which Chappelle has done, and Chappelle was even grandfathered in from a different time zone, but there are other comedians like Jimmy Carr, Anthony Jeselnik, that like you expect to see that. Tony Hinchcliffe, they try to cancel him and he only grew bigger from it. He gained 20,000 followers in a day, which was 10% of what he had on Instagram already because he had 200,000. And then on top of that, his agency dropped him. He's with a bigger agency. His venue dropped him that he was doing his show at every Monday. He's at a 3 times larger venue now with better production. Everything happened from one night to the other, and it just skyrocketed because his fans like that. And yeah, people are going to be outraged, but those people weren't going to spend money with him anyways. Other people who like that type of stuff are going to see it and be like, oh, let me check this guy out. So you might get 100,000 people looking at something. 80,000 of them are going to be outraged, but they're not going to do anything. They're just going to be upset. 20,000 of them are going to go check you out and spend money with you. So like it's building a platform on this is what I do. This is my shtick, and there is a niche market for it because things are so overly politically correct. That 20% is getting more and more starved for this type of humor. It's hard to find it. And so when they do find it, these are loyal fans. I have people messaging me from India. I have people who find me. I do self promotion on sometimes on other comedians' Instagrams where I'm like, hey, check my stuff out. If you like it, let me know what you think. And I get people all the time. I send Keith pictures all the time of people messaging me saying
Oh, okay.
they literally will message me saying I clicked on your profile just to hate on you, but you're kind of funny. Like stuff like that
Yeah.
all the time because they're like, I don't respond to bots. This is stupid. Normally I block bots, but I saw your shit and it made me die of laughter. Like stuff
That's
like that.
awesome.
Pro trolling.
It's literally when you get those fans, they're way better fans than like Chris D'Elia's fans would be or something, like where there's a scandal or something comes out and everyone's like, fuck this guy. Like it would be very hard to cancel me once I get to the platform or the level where I want to be. Because at the end of the day, if you could sell tickets,
That's
then
really what it is.
that's all that matters. It's numbers. And at the end of
Well,
the day,
isn't that
if a
crazy though?
yeah, well, I mean, it's business. That's just the way it should be. That you could be. I mean, Barack Obama could sell out the Miami Improv. He's not
Oh
going
yeah.
to be telling any funny jokes, but there's enough people that would come pay for him, and the Improv will let him go up. So like, it doesn't really matter what you do as long as you sell tickets. That's their most important thing, is making money and keeping the doors open at the end of the day. So like, it should be about the comedy, but like, if you could do both, then you're fine. And if a venue doesn't even want to let you in, then you self-produce it. You pay for a venue and you do it yourself. And then you make all the money off of it. You make the money off the drink sales as well. So like, that's why I like the freedom. That's why I'm filming. I'm in the process of producing and filming, and I'm putting all the money into myself for a 30-minute special. And I'm not even, people have told me, at least reach out to Comedy Central. See, first of all, Comedy Central would not touch my shit with a 10-foot pole. But even if they were
Come on.
interested, I wouldn't
Really?
sell it. They would not. Nowadays, if you look at what's on Comedy Central nowadays, it's everyone has to be like a trans, non-binary, black, white, Hispanic
But listen,
woman.
It's everything but like that. Then there's South Park.
Well, I was about to say they still put out South Park and they still do the roast. You can't get any like those roasts are like
When was the last time they did a
I
Comedy
love those
Central roast?
roasts.
I'd have
A
to
good
Google it.
one?
I know
It's
one
been
of
a
you's out
while.
there. Somebody
It's been
Google
a
when the last Comedy Central
yeah.
roast.
Someone Google when the last Comedy Central roast is, and there are, but I'm talking about specifically Comedy Central
Jimmy
stand-up
Carter.
specials.
Jimmy
They
Connor?
do. No, Jimmy
Jimmy
Carter
Carter.
is my number one favorite comedian, and he did do a great joke on Pete Davidson
Yeah.
that
Oh
people
my
got
God. Is
offended
that
by.
not the most that okay, so that's an example. Like, so I want to get into this. And so I know Keith's not saying a ton right now. Because I do want to touch on that piece of where society accepts dark humor and doesn't care about the group that's offended. So example I always use is, so my mother's family's all from Appalachia. They're all from Tennessee. They're all Eastern Tennessee, 100%. Which reminds me, Aaron, we got to talk about something that's going to blow your mind. Y'all ever done 23andMe?
Blue
Like
people?
the DNA? No,
No, I don't believe in giving my DNA over
look,
to a company.
you've given your DNA to enough people. That's why you say,
Definitely.
um, so I did 23andMe, and I had to talk to my cousin first because I don't even put that out there. And
Try some
I
crazy
found out
shit?
that I found out that her son's father is
Owned a lot of
related
humans.
to my mother's side of the family. So like
Dude,
he's actually on both sides.
Tennessee fucking family trees are like fucking like phone poles. It's
Oh, I
just
did tell her.
straight
I'm
up and
sorry.
down.
I didn't remember if I told you or not, Aaron. But no. But here's the thing that you're talking about. So that's a completely acceptable dark humor to just bust the chops of anyone from Appalachia.
Yeah.
We consider them as ignorant, as dumb, as
Dumb as
if you
fuck.
have a twang to your voice in any way, shape, or form. You've got an uncle dad somewhere in your bloodline,
Or a husband in your
Keith is living
future.
proof.
or a cousin. You know,
Yeah.
You know,
So
you're
the
probably
thing
so
with
dumb that when you
that,
smile, your heart slows down. Any one of these things is true.
the thing with that is that's why I don't like punching up. I don't
What does
like
that mean?
punching up. It's, to me, it's pandering. Punching up is when you're making fun of a group that's socially acceptable to make fun of. So like
But
the
those
second
kind of in power.
I punch down always. So like it's easy to make fun
Yeah.
of white people, and I think it's pandering because like I don't do Trump jokes because regardless of whether or Biden jokes really, because it's too easy, and it's too easy to get the crowd on your side. It's like if I walk up and I'm doing a show in Detroit and I'm like, damn, Detroit's the greatest city of all time. Obviously I'm gonna get an applause break. I didn't have to work for that. So it's the same thing with like white people. It's just so easy for like people to laugh at and stuff. I like knowing that my joke is good, and my joke is good if I can make someone laugh at George Floyd, if I can make someone laugh at Kobe Bryant, if I can make someone laugh at the Holocaust, now I know my writing is solid enough where people are like, that was fucked up, but I see what you did there. And that's what I'm looking for. I don't even need you to be like, ha ha ha, that was hilarious. I want you to be like, I shouldn't be laughing at this, but I can't
Now,
help it.
You
now
forced my
either one of
hand.
raise your hand. Is that what you said, Keith?
It forced my hand. You made me laugh.
You made me laugh.
Yeah.
Now that's a question though, from either one of you. Have you ever been at a show, um, and you watch somebody laugh at a dark joke that was addressing somebody else that they felt like whatever they were somehow better in that situation to laugh at that joke, and the next breath you made a joke that they were like, "Oh, wait a sec, now that's me." Have you ever had that kind of like, "Ha, hey, wait a second, now you're talking about me," that kind of like quick change type scenario?
I've had some
Well,
slow reactions before, in that type of sense where like, but it's mainly shock first. People look around and then they feel okay to laugh. So I
hmm
literally have clips where like just if you just listen to the audio, you hear a pause, they register it, a shock, like an ooh, and then everyone looks around and then you hear people like laugh and almost like a sigh of relief. And it's the weirdest
ha,
thing
ha, ha, ha,
ever
ha.
because you know they just want to laugh.
So it's almost,
It's
was
it's
it
a it's a
acceptable in the
weird thing,
audience
yeah, where
to
they're
laugh?
looking for approval to laugh.
Group
Yeah,
Now,
mentality.
exactly. And you are in a group setting, so you don't want to be like that one guy where like I say something super fucked up and you're the only person like ha ha, and everyone else is like nah. Like so, I get it kind of, but just everyone should be relaxed. It's people need to understand that these comedy clubs are a safe space. Like I've done shows where it was dark humor only, and we said the most outrageous things, and instead of me collecting a paycheck, which at this level of comedy, you take every dollar you can get, and I fully produced the show. I sold 30 30 tickets in a 60-person venue, and we had standing room only, and we still had to tell people at the door not to come in, and I still snuck more people in. So we had like 80 people in a venue where it was like 60 only, and I did all this work. I hired all the comedians and everything, and instead of taking a paycheck, I donated that paycheck to charity because
huh,
actions speak louder than words. Because I can say all the fucked up things I want, but if I'm doing good things for people, if I, as a person, as a human being, I'm a good person, then it doesn't matter. Like I have no guilt. I have no guilt in my conscience whatsoever. So I can say these jokes knowing that I didn't do anything wrong. I see a lot of times people actually like there's that white guilt going around where they're like, I can't laugh at that because, you know, maybe I picked on a kid for being like that when he was younger or something, or like I have none of that guilt. I can make fun of anyone and everything because it's all the same to me. I don't care who you are. I love everyone as long as you're not an asshole. Like, you know, so
now,
that's what I subscribe to.
now, as far as charity,
Yeah, are
is
you a
that
charity
the
now?
is that the child of your dealer? Is that does she work a corner at
Yeah, yeah. I
so
donated
That's
all to charity at the club.
that's my
whoever
daughter
charity is,
sharing needles.
uh, because it is what it is. But charity for needles. Um,
Yeah, no,
so
I mean, I just grabbed the money from the show and I donated it
that's cool though.
to the
Now,
government so we could get bigger cages for Mexicans. Um,
see
I can get
that's
behind that.
see that's a Cuban saying
I'm
that. That's a
Hispanic
whole.
though. I could say
But now
it.
that's one of those things like, hey, I'm this, I can say that. But so I was talking today with my barber, and I'm curious from a community standpoint. I can remember when I was a kid, you always, especially in Baltimore, this was a thing. And I'm gonna get to your question in a minute, Dibs. Um, Polish jokes were a big thing. Polak jokes.
Mhm.
Do
You joke
either
about
one of
what you
you,
know.
huh?
You joke about what you know.
But I'm
Uh,
saying like now growing up in Miami, growing up in Kentucky, so we had a big Polish population where I grew up at. Were Polak jokes a thing?
my dad would do Polak jokes, and that's why I steer clear from them because it's dad humor, in my opinion.
Okay,
Uh,
so maybe it was an age thing. Thanks for calling me old. Appreciate that. And on the next show,
Really
no,
cut my myth, Uncle.
it might be an age thing. Also, I don't know enough Polish people, and also, again, I like punching down. So, like, Polish people might be disenfranchised. They might be a minority in some places and stuff, but I don't see it that way personally. And I also have to play with I have to play with like the majority or the audience's consensus. So like if you were to
Okay.
take a poll of like 100 people in the audience and you said what are the three biggest groups that are like affected by like inequality and stuff like that, Polish people would not be in, like, out of the 100 people maybe one or two would say it, but like it would really be. So I like to play with like already existing stereotypes, things that people already understand, things that like there's a community behind it or like everyone knows. So like I love making jokes about like things that just happen in the news because it's fresh in everyone's brain and stuff. Polish people, I think it might have been like too long now, or like at
Right.
least in Miami.
So it's so that's part of that sliding scale. It doesn't is Keith is biting his face right now. I got to get the
Yeah,
dibs.
what I really want to say. So what I'm hearing is we really need to start talking about this Polish privilege problem.
Exactly, the Polish
Yeah.
privilege problem. Um, but it was a thing. Now, Ro
Yeah. What Dib say?
well, remember, Aaron, you and I
He
are
said,
very
"Is
close.
there
Aaron, you
anything?"
don't remember, we're very close in age. There's only 6 years between us.
He
My
says, "Is
my
there
cousins and I,
anything
we're
that
all
you are afraid to
Yeah,
joke about
I'm
because you think it's going too
25.
far?"
So to put in
I'm
perspective,
45.
I'm 25. So
So you're 25, I'm 45.
I'm
But
timeless.
well, but so Keith, and I'm curious for Keith if there's anything. Robert, I love this one. The solar powered flashlight joke. That's a Polish joke. Hey, the solar power. They invented the solar powered flashlight.
Imagine if you had a
yeah,
dynamo in your right hand whenever you're 13. That's free energy.
and also that's another thing I actually want to touch on the Polish thing is like, what's the stereotype that they're dumb,
Well,
right?
that was what
The
always
hard
the Polish,
workers.
That's
like the
that,
Polish joke. The one I always remembered as a kid was during World War II, and this is where it actually. But a lot of these come from areas, if you know their history. So the joke was during World War II, the Polish threw dynamite at the Germans, and the Germans lit it and threw it back.
so
Dumb
and
Polacks.
and these are
But
clever, but
but
we're
if you
playing
look
with
at
one stereotype for all of these jokes. So you
right,
can, after you've heard like two or three, you see all the rest coming from a mile away.
right,
I love playing with black jokes because just first of all, black people have the best sense of humor out of any group that I've ever met. And I've never had one get offended, and I go for the jugular. But there's so many
well, where can
stereotypes
we
that
find you the next time? What's the next show? Next show.
uh next I don't know because I had to cancel a
Well, what's
couple
the
things because of
Miami
COVID.
He's
General?
dying, Sean.
That's what I said.
But
Miami General ICU.
yeah, exactly. But you could definitely I post everything on my Instagram. So if you follow me on Instagram, you'll see all my shows and I do love posting clips. A lot of comedians don't. I love posting clips because I have over 400, 500 jokes. Some of them I haven't even taken the stage yet. So there's an endless amount of just one-liners, and my joke format is perfect for social media where it's digestible. It's not a 3-minute story. I could just tell you a joke in 15 seconds. You can laugh and keep scrolling. So my format is really good for social media. And so I love posting. And if I didn't post, I wouldn't be gaining 25 followers in a day. It just wouldn't happen if I just had pictures of me doing stand up because nobody would have like,
An
a
understanding.
preview or a teaser of what I do. But yeah, the thing with the Polish jokes, I think it's is really important to note is that there's that one stereotype that they're dumb, which of course it's not true. You can't generalize the population, but there are already pre-existing stereotypes that we don't have to create. We have to use for these jokes. But with other minorities and other groups, there's so many others. Like with black people, there's a million stereotypes. With white people, there's a couple. With Hispanics, there's so many more stereotypes, and there's so many different types of Hispanics that you can like play with it. With Asians, there's a decent amount, but it's really like bad drivers, good at math, small penis. Like it's all been said. So I like to touch things where there's more for me to play with, and I like it to be dark, but dark because of the fact that it forces me to be a better writer. I can't get away with shock nowadays in 2021. You can't get away with shock value. So it has to be something that is written really, really well and really clever. It's got to have a misdirect at the end. You got to throw some red herrings in there. You got to let someone think you're going one way and take a sharp left turn and then use something that they already know in their head to kind of use as a callback. So you're using a stereotype as a callback for your setup. And so there's a lot that goes into it. I'm not just up there saying like horrible shit.
Right.
Like
Oh, I'm
it is
flirting.
an art.
Right now, Keith's flirting with my cousin. It's okay. Don't worry about it.
Oh,
There's a whole nother dark thing going on here.
and
Um,
so
but
I
no,
think
now hold on for a second, though. I want to
yeah,
pause you for a second, Drew, because now be kind of going to Dib's point there. So Miami's a very diverse series. And look, if you're down in the Miami area, take a moment, go look up Drew the comedian, see where he's at. Make sure you're following him on Instagram. I meant to actually that was my own fault. You put that back up there.
there
Drew
we
the
go.
comedian. That's where you can find him at. Make sure you're taking the time. Keith, local Circle K, Piggly
Behind
Wiggly,
Walmart.
Walmart, Kroger's. Um,
Kroger,
he's at one of them. He keeps asking to move
homeless
into my
shelters.
basement. He
Look in
keeps
the
asking to move
dirtiest
into my basement.
places.
Um, we're bringing him into the whole family. But
Click your
now,
heels together 3 times. No.
and you'll find him. But that's an example. So I'm curious, because this is what you do today. Let's talk about some of the history of it for a minute.
Hmm.
With the dark comedy, we mentioned a little bit of the God, I almost said Mel Blanc. That's Bugs Bunny, but that's another example of dark humor.
Mel
Is if you
Brooks.
really go look at the Bugs Bunny stuff, there's a lot of dark stuff in there where if you really
There
understand,
is.
like there's stuff in there that I'm going to tell you whether you like it or not plays to a level that you're like, oh, cancel culture. Like I think the only reason cancel culture hasn't gotten a hold of it is it's too scary to touch.
Yeah,
Like
but also
because
with
it's that too big to fail.
with cartoons in general, Family Guy gets away with some stuff that they would
What you mean?
never if it
But
was
it's
an
supposed to,
acted
but it's
show.
never been for kids. Family Guy's never been for
Of
children.
course. No, I get that. But
That's like
also
Rick and
like
Morty's not for my children.
Morty.
windows and stuff like that in it has always been a thing because cartoons have to be watchable for adults as well. They're the ones with the money. So you have to put innuendos. I mean, Toy Story has always had them and stuff. They're
Yes.
not as dark. I think at the beginning, I mean, listen, a lot of Disney stuff is Disney was an anti-Semite himself, so like there's some
Yeah,
stuff in there that he probably threw
that's
in not ironically.
What was it?
Um,
Thaw me out when the
are
Jews are gone. Yeah, good
innuendos
guy.
and stuff like that, but you can get away with stuff a lot more in cartoons than you could with live shows. I love Mel Brooks. I love, like I mentioned, Monty Python stuff.
well, that's
But
another one.
it's also important to note that when it's acted and scripted, people give actors way more leeway because you could be playing a role of a sociopath, a serial killer, and nobody thinks you're that when you get off of the screen. But I go on stage and I say horrible things, and some people literally think that that's me off of stage. But like if I was in a movie, you wouldn't think that. You'd be like, he's just acting. So why is it when I get on the stage, everyone else is doing comedy, but when I get up there and say some horrible shit, it's now a TED talk or I'm trying to make a point? Like nothing I say is
I
true
know.
up there.
What do you know, Keith?
It's just like Chappelle. Like I think people really have a good sense for whenever someone's being genuine and talking about something out of a place that's not coming from hatred, and they're really just trying to point at the most like ridiculous aspects of a like societal problem and trying to point those out, just make people think about it in a different way. And they might not exactly see it that way, but they recognize it as it not being a harmful intended thing.
I don't know. I think satire is a little bit harder for people to understand, especially when you're because I almost play a character on stage where I'm being ironic the whole time, and I'm like I'm doing self-deprecating humor, but I'm playing the role of an asshole. So like it's satire completely, but people common sense is getting increasingly less common nowadays. And so people don't get the nuances. People aren't big comedy fans, especially in Miami. Yeah, it's very diverse, but this is not a comedy city. There's too much shit to do. Where like you see UM games, it was the UM was the greatest football team of all time in all of college history for
I,
many
oh,
years.
I got a question for you before you get into the football thing, because I don't understand football whatsoever, but I know comedy. Do you think that people are incapable of like Jesus, that sounded like an unenthusiastic hand job. That made me sad. Okay, do you think that people are like not able to see the nuances of it, or we've kind of given them so much shit from like just bombard them with like short memory like type shit that they can't pay attention to it long enough to like appreciate
Uh,
nuance.
I think comedy itself is just not a popular enough art form. I mean, if you go up
You
to a
got to be
bunch of
smart to
people
get
in the
it.
if you go up to a bunch of people in the street and you ask them, "Have you been to a comedy show?" Most people haven't. And like you have to, and some people have gone to comedy shows, but they're just a fan of a specific comedian, not of stand up as in general. So they might be like, "Yeah, I've seen Kevin Hart," but you're like, "Okay, can you name three other comedians?" They're like, "No, Kevin Hart's the funny one." Like,
I feel like
you
Joe
know, and
Rogan's got a lot of fans like that.
yeah, and it's great. I mean, as many fans as comedy can get, like perfect. It's better for everyone. But I think like that's a real big thing that deterred me from. I thought I wasn't a fan of stand up for the majority of my life because the mainstream comedians are not my type of comedy. I was in a really dark place and I found certain comedians. I listened to Jimmy Carr's Greatest Hits. It's on Netflix. It's one of the best hours. There's more laughs per second than any other
Who
comedy
is it
special
again?
I've
Say it
ever
one more
heard.
time.
Jimmy Carr Greatest Hits. So
He's a
Jimmy
British
Carr is a
comedian.
one-liner. He's a British comedian. He's a one-liner comedian. He started comedy at the age of 26 and quit his job. And he's worked on writing jobs with Ricky Gervais, which is the writer of The Office. He's done a lot of great things, but he's a one-liner comedian. He goes super dark. I mean, like some of his jokes are like one of my favorite jokes of his is say what you want about the Make-A-Wish Foundation, but they can really work to a deadline. And like he just like it's just such word specific jokes that the writing is perfect and it's short and quick like that, and he'll move from one thing to the other, and he has over 10 hours of free content on YouTube that you can check out, and his greatest hits is on Netflix. It's an hour of his best jokes put together, and you
Oh,
will
what a
die of
face.
laughter if you have this type of humor. Yeah,
Well, I mean, he can
Jimmy
tell
Carr.
200 jokes in the span of like what most regular comedians would tell 10,
Yeah, and so
15.
and it's
What's
rapid
funny,
fire
so I had to pull him up.
nonstop.
He's a British-Irish stand-up comedian, television presenter, writer, actor. He is known for his dark humor, distinctive language, and heckler interaction.
Oh,
Yeah,
he
he has
will
another one
smite
where he's like,
hecklers.
he has one where he's like, if only Africa had more mosquito nets, we could save millions of mosquitoes from dying needlessly of AIDS. Like it's just that type of like, go for it, do whatever you want,
Like,
but
I
it's
feel
the
that sigh right now, like, that you're talking about, like, that's
I mean, she,
it's just like,
And then the other special that I heard that really was like, okay, so there's a side of comedy that I truly enjoy and like can really make like bring me joy. And that's what I was like, I want to do that. And that's when I got into it was I listened to Anthony Jeselnik's Shakespeare, which is in my opinion probably the best album of all time. I think Jimmy Carr's the best comedian, but Anthony Jeselnik's Shakespeare, which I don't even think I've seen it, but the audio is on like Spotify and iTunes and all that stuff. If you listen to that, it's like broken down into bits, but if you listen to the whole hour, it is fucking hilarious. His timing is so perfect where he lets laughs drown out and like then goes into it. His
God,
tags on top of his jokes are just perfect. And so that's the type of stuff. Then I also two podcasts that I really give credit to. Your Mom's House, which is Tom Segura and his wife, and then Kill Tony, which is hosted by Tony Hinchcliffe. And it's a show where it's like a talent show where each comedian gets 1 minute on stage, and they'll have judges behind them, which are all other comedians. If you do good, they talk to you about your life and stuff. You do bad, they roast the shit out of you. But it was
well,
something where like I heard a bunch of shitty comedians go up, and I was like, you know what? I might not be good enough to write jokes and like do it on stage, but I can at least do better than that asshole. And so like that was something. If you're thinking of getting into comedy, watch Kill Tony. You'll see people who've been doing it 10 years, and you'll see homeless people who tried it for the first time. Like you'll see everything, and you'll be like, all right, there's somewhere I could land in between there. And you just really need to get the first time out of the way. But I
what's you,
remember
Keith?
what,
uh,
Somewhere in between a homeless person and
yeah,
professional comedian.
I
I got all
remember
kinds of homes.
I had such a skewed view of comedy before I even got on stage that I thought I was just going to come out like guns blazing. My first ever joke on stage was something, it was so niche. It's something I wouldn't even like use for anything. Like I wouldn't use it as a clip or anything.
Terrible.
But it was so niche and specific and outdated.
Garbage.
But I thought it was a good joke because I had just gone with my ex-girlfriend. She was from the school, so I had just gone like through helping her move out of her dorm. So when I went on stage, I was like, it was fresh in my mind, and I'd just written this joke, and I thought it was going to get a great response. It was an outdoor show, which always sucks, but it was my first time on stage, and I'm reading from my phone, and I go something along the line. I don't want to. I mean, you can't butcher it too much because it's not that great of a joke. But I was like, in
I'll tell one after it.
2007. I was like, in 2007, Virginia Tech was voted the most fit school in the country, which makes sense because that's the year that the 52 slowest students got shot. And my first ever comedy reaction was not a laugh. It was another comedian saying, Jesus fucking Christ, and
Jesus
nothing else.
Christ, man.
And that was my first ever reaction on stage. And then I'm like, fuck, I have like 18 more of these things. Like, I just kept going through it.
But now I know exactly what you're talking about. That brings up the top. That brings up the topic of, is there a timeline for things? Because I used to always like the show. What was it though? Last Man Standing, or
Last Comic Standing. Yeah.
Last Comic Standing. I like that show. Definitely think they've made some bad choices. The year that whoever that kid was that ended up going to like Universal Studios and doing shows, and he sucked. And the guy who came in second was like an amazing comedian.
Josh Blues come out of that show. Ralphie Mays come out of that show.
Right. Well, who's the kid?
Fluffy.
There's the guy who has
Gabriel
cerebral palsy came out of there.
Yeah, that's Josh Blue, the first one I mentioned.
Okay.
Gabriel Iglesias came out of there. Doug Benson was on that show.
Which is very odd that Josh Blue came out of that one, and then I saw him on America's Got Talent recently.
Yeah.
Like he's a very talented, well-known comedian that did
America's
Got
Talent. That I found weird too, because like once you're at a certain level, you shouldn't have to. Sam Morril did America's Got Talent. I know a couple other people did too, but when they were like younger in their career, Josh Blues had multiple specials out. Like he has,
right, like he's well known. It was almost like, but it almost felt like the show needed a known face to kind of boost something up there. But a reason I bring it up is probably, I'm telling you, I like America's Got Talent, but sometimes there's like
it's rigged.
They would never let me on the show.
No, you're not going on
there. Yeah, but in the general vicinity.
They're lucky. They would be like, listen here, this is America, not Drew. But it brings up the topic of, I don't remember the comedian's name, and somebody who's watching or listening right now can send it to you. There was a gentleman 1 year that did America's Got
Last Comic
Standing, and he made a 9/11 joke, and he was Middle Eastern descent, and he got kicked off the show because he did it in New York City,
which is absolutely dumb.
Well, this was like a couple. I bet you this was like 2000, somewhere between 2003 and 2006.
So this is where the topic. This is where the topic of
Keith. Who was it?
Joe Machi.
Oh, Joe Machi. Joe Machi's great. He's not Middle Eastern, so I don't think so.
But he's well known now. He got through it, but he made that joke, and they were like,
"You'll find your audience. There's going to be people watching. The network doesn't like it, but it's going to cause a fire. There's going to be talk about it. But this is where you have to understand when it comes to too soon. So too soon is a thing that applies to the PC culture. But when it comes to dark comedy, you want to be the first person to hit a dark topic. It's almost the difference where like I was saying that it was outdated, the Virginia Tech joke, because the shooting happened so long ago. But if it happened the week of, it would have made my joke even better. I was doing George Floyd jokes George Floyd jokes during the riots. Like it was day 3, and I was fucking going on stage doing George Floyd jokes.
Keith, read that. I'm in shock right now.
Sean, you know I can't read.
Shock.
I did funniest
the highest
mom
level
in
of
America.
education. Read that.
I did Funniest Mom in America 3 on Nick back in like 2006 or 2007. Only got on the first show. I was in the top 60. I was too dark for Nickelodeon. Hello.
So
Nick
that's my
can't.
cousin Erin, that's so great. And she stopped. She took care of her mom. Which she got her. Erin got angel wings for that. She's guaranteed her spot there. Uh, uh,
Better than me. Mine's
Go
just
take care of it.
home.
Tell Aunt Joyce I love her. But yeah, that's crazy. I didn't know that about my own cousin. This is too crazy. So, Drew, I'm proud of you. At no point did we have to call 911.
No, no, I've actually, since we've been flowing, I was feeling literally like
Breathy.
I was gonna throw up before
Yeah,
this,
like
but
I thought Keith was gonna have to save you. That didn't happen.
yeah,
At
Keith,
no
why the
No,
point
fuck
has
are you
my
here?
phone rang and somebody said,
eye
uh,
candy.
WTF, which is very good. But this is such an interesting subject that, there's so much to it, so many different elements to it. I mean, this is one of those subjects that we can go on forever on because and it's very subjective. What you think is dark
Not that
and just
subjective. I
comedy.
mean, it's just
What
stupid
say it again,
people.
Keith?
Like,
Dark
No,
does
Keith
have a
was talking. Hold
genre
on.
where
Keith was mumbling. Let him mumble.
oh, I said, like, it's not that subjective. There's really like a pretty easily found common denominator. The people that always are up in arms about shit are the dumbest people in society and the people that have the least going on for them. So, I mean, come on, of course they're going to make a racket. And sometimes
well,
people listen.
I don't think whether something's dark or not is subjective. It's kind of cut and dry. Like you can kind of, I mean, there's some gray areas, but
Yeah.
when it comes to whether you're offended by that or not, that's
Yeah, but
subjective.
the way that you handle it, in turn, like I can't give anybody offense. They can only take it, and that's
I don't
where
think
I,
there's many, yeah, I don't think there's many people who say a Holocaust joke isn't dark. Like it's dark,
Right.
but whether you laugh at it or not, that's where the
yeah, that's
subjective part of
growth.
it comes into play.
Being able to look at something
And
that we've done
but
before and be like,
all
oh, that was
but
fucked up.
regardless of like whether it's dark comedy or it's clean comedy, it's all going to be subjective. You could do clean comedy all day, and I'm going to be like, that's trash.
So
Or you could have a really good bit that just didn't happen to be dark, and it makes an interesting point, and I laugh at it, and I'll be like, you know what, that was a pretty good clean comedy bit.
Now,
But
do you
in
like
general,
Sinbad?
who?
Sinbad.
No. I mean, there's
At no point in time, nothing he ever did made you laugh.
he's
that's
he's
the
just
issue with comedy, and that's very important to note for anyone who wants to get into comedy. Quality over quantity, because it will you could look, if I'm a fan of yours, I'll watch you for 10 hours, but if I don't like your first 10 minutes, I won't listen to anything else. There's too many other comedians, there's too much other stuff out there. So like he could have funny stuff, I just wouldn't know because the stuff I've seen wasn't for me. So
Too
that's
clean.
what's really important for it's not even clean, it's just whether I find it funny or not. I have like most people, I have a very low attention span. You have 5 minutes to make me laugh, if that. If I don't laugh within 5 minutes, I'm moving on to the next comedian. There's too much other stuff on the internet for me to look at that can make me laugh, for me to sit through and wait till you to get to the good part because you had a 15-minute build up to the story and a
yeah,
big punch at the end.
that's why he's a one liner. He ain't got no attention span. He forgets where it's going.
Yeah, neither does anyone else. So one-liner comedy,
Well,
it's not as common, but I think it's a great it's perfect for social media platforms, I think.
I've
I was
learned a
gonna
lot from you.
say everything
I
nuts
mean,
do.
for real.
No,
Yeah, everything nuts.
But now that's you bring that up. Now, do we have? Is it more? Look, Dibs was like, well, at least my graphic caught your attention. That's because it
You want
was
graphic.
amazing, Dibs.
Yeah, it was a great
Now we
graphic.
got wait. I got to get you doing Keith's graphics. But no, you bring up a point. Is comedy turned into your jokes have to be the equivalent of a Vine video?
Yeah,
No,
almost.
But
but
Almost.
but you
so
say it again, Keith.
No, I
Keith,
said almost. Like there are great storytellers though that can actually catch an audience's attention. I mean, if
but
it's the
they
right
have to have
audience too.
that's the thing. They have to have the audience. Chappelle when he did that whole thing where he was crying that he's a millionaire who's not getting paid enough for the Chappelle show, There was not one laugh in the whole 30 minutes of it, and everyone was reposting and sharing it because Chappelle could just read a book for 2 hours and people would repost it.
Yeah.
So, but me, I would get booed off stage in the first 2 minutes if I was complaining about like not getting paid for something or something like that. Like, so it just depends on who you are. Once you hit a
We make
certain
the book
level,
guy.
but it's also kind of to your disadvantage because there's some comedians who get so big and so famous that the crowds are always laughing at anything they say that they don't know what's funny anymore. Comedy keeps you humble because if you say something that's not funny, for the most part, if you're not a big comedian, you're not going to get a laugh. So you're like, fuck. Like, even though I've written hours of fucking hilarious material, what I just said right now got nothing, and that made me feel like shit. So I'm going to either scrap that or change it, but you need that information. It sucks and it hurts to bomb, but you need that data. You learn more from that than you learn from actually winning. So once you get to a certain level, you can tell stories for 30 minutes long, but who's to say whether it's good or not? You still have an audience, so people are going to listen to it, but you don't know whether your stuff's good or not. There's some comedians who just quit comedy because they got so big that they're like, I can't gauge this anymore.
Yeah,
It's
those
just
are
too
the
much.
two. Oh, go ahead, Sean. Sorry.
Yeah.
No. Now I want to hear
Those
your
are the
input.
two extremes. Like you've got the too big to fail, and then you've got the luxury that comes with anonymity of being a smaller comedian. You know, you can get by with more,
Well, look at
but
Martin
you don't
Lawrence.
get seen. And
Martin Lawrence is an example of that. Remember,
Who?
I mean, Martin Lawrence.
Martin Lawrence, yeah.
I mean, he was like you were talking about comedy albums. He had an album back in the early '90s that I probably played in my car 100 times. Could tell you the entire thing on that. One of the funniest jokes was him talking about Michael Jackson's father, Joe Jackson, and the not Shoeless, Joe Jackson, and then talking about what the hell is Michael's sister, the one that wasn't that talented.
Janet.
No, Janet was talented.
No, she just popped a titty out at the Super Bowl.
No, she was always, but I can't think of her name. But he does a whole bit on it, but like you said, he was. See, but I don't know if I would ever call what he did dark.
Yeah,
I mean, blue. But now that's another thing. Like I'm going to put a bow on this here soon. But what's the difference, Drew, between dark and blue?
Dark and blue are synonymous. I don't like using the term. Blue is just an older term. Dark is like more of a regular generation. They're completely synonymous.
The fuck is
I
a
used to
generation? Hold on. What the fuck is a regular generation?
No, I meant like
regular
newer generation, like current is what I meant. I misspoke. I'm sorry to offend the.
Look at my shirt right now.
I'm sorry to offend the guys that are in this podcast that get discounts at grocery stores, but I meant
Benny
current
Hannes.
generation when I said that. But so when it comes to dark and blue comedy, it's the same thing. I don't like using, and I know people have said black comedy. Black comedy could also mean Def Jam. Like it could mean something completely different. So I don't like using that
gallows
term.
comedy.
Gallows is another like that's like before blue comedy. That's like when they're like yeah. So like these are super old terms, and that I think the last person I heard use the term blue comedy was like Bob Saget. Like, and so it's not common.
So I don't know if you heard him on here, and Amanda Wingo says popping titty out takes talent.
Pop your titties.
But you talked about Bob Saget. I don't know if you went back and you listened to any of the shows. That would be appreciated, Drew. Thanks, appreciate it. You got 25 people down logging on. Probably should tell them all to
definitely go back and listen to all those shows.
Follow. I mean, just throw that out there.
Everybody listen to Sean's show. I'm sorry.
Thank you, because you're already here. But no, we had Scott Edwards on, who owned a comedy club in Los Angeles, the 12th ever permanent, like full-time comedy club in America for 20 years out of Los Angeles. And Bob Saget was one of his, like he's actually one of his closest friends is Bob Saget. But you talk about that, and it's interesting to me is how much. So you say, oh, they'd never let me on TV. Bob Saget's one of the dirtiest comedians to ever do it.
But his TV show is sectioned it. And so
there you go. We just
That's the
lost Keith.
thing.
What the fuck did he just do?
I don't know, but that's an important thing to note is that with Bob Saget, great comedian.
Phenomenal.
I'm not a big fan of sitcoms, but I respect it and stuff. But the thing is, he ran into an issue because he didn't stay consistent. Is that his TV stuff, which he's getting paid an enormous amount for in sitcoms, is super family friendly, super clean. That then people would bring their children to his
Yes,
comedy shows,
that's what
and they would
Scott was saying.
freak out, and it's like it's two completely different worlds, but it's kind of like yeah, he's like Hannah Montana on TV and Miley Cyrus off TV. Like it's two different worlds. You got, Jekyll and Hyde type of situation where it's like, but he's not advertising as much, because if he advertises that he's
Right.
dark, then the networks get mad at him and he can't do his TV show. So people have to find out the hard way. If you're consistent with it and you're like, I say fucked up shit all the time, don't bring your kids, people aren't going to bring their kids. And if they do, it's on them at that point, not me.
Well, that's what Scott was saying is he would have to, like, moms would be like, "Oh, Bob Saget," and they would get ready to bring their 10 and 12-year-old daughters to go see these shows, and he would have to be like, "You can't see this. No, 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 no. No, no,
Yeah.
no." I mean, and he was close friends. Like, I think he said he was in Bob Saget's wedding or something like that. Like that level of close.
Yeah.
And he talked about that. Now, one of the other things, because I want to get into this also. Look, he's back. Keith, can you get that prepaid phone taken care of?
There you go.
Keith is literally like the worst STD ever. Like, you just can't get rid of him.
You can't.
Whole new type of herpes.
So now, one of the things I got running across the bottom of the screen right now, and I want to talk to you about before we put a bow on this thing and pull the lights in the bar, is Vice City on YouTube. You managed to pull off one of the greatest kung fu hits in all of YouTube to be able to have the title of your YouTube channel, Vice City. Listen to me. If you're any of Drew's fans, I need you all and any Keith fans to go to my YouTube channel so I can get the required, whatever it is, 100 followers or 500 followers.
1,000 and 1,000 hours watched.
I can customize the name of my YouTube channel. I can't even do that right now.
What? Yeah, you can.
No, I can't. I got like 56 and they won't let me customize the name of it.
Give me $20.
Listen to me. You're as bad as the people that send me messages. Listen to me. I can go ahead.
Well, I'm worse.
But that's another. Oh God, that's a whole nother thing. I had a guy reach out to me the other day, and I've had two. One was phenomenal. I'd recommend the guy. He seemed like a good guy. I talked to him on the phone. But I had another one. He's like, "Oh, I can get you 15,000 followers." Okay,
Don't
I can
ever
improve
do
your
that.
show. I can improve your show. I'm like, all right, cool. I said, so of all my shows that you've listened to, what was your favorite?
Oh, I don't give a shit.
And he goes, I've never listened to him.
Yeah.
So how are you going to improve my show if you've never listened to it?
Yeah.
Well,
statistically, but those aren't real. Like,
they're not real people, real numbers.
Yeah, we've talked about
what's
that.
important to know is, like, there could be one on YouTube who has 100,000 subs and makes no money, and there's another guy with 5,000 subs who makes a living off of them because those 5,000 people are buying merch, each and every single one of them. You don't want a bunch of fans. You want a bunch of fans with money. If my entire fan base is 4-year-old children with not a dime in their pocket, then I'm
4-year-olds
making
are
nothing.
watching your comedy. All their parents are getting CPS calls. And no,
My kid.
Yeah,
I love you.
yeah, but those parents are
There's
also
a
not taking them
handful
to
of
the show.
Murphy
So
cousins. Hold on a sec. There's a handful of Murphy cousins, Aaron, in our generation. No one talked poo-poo on you, and you know I would never let that happen. There's only a handful of us. So at least in our age bracket, we're like one day I'll have to explain this to you. Like, we're a very interesting dynamic. And I'm actually, it's been said many times on the show. I'm 5'8", Drew. I am the shortest person, male or female, on that entire side of the family.
Oh, wow.
Every single one of my cousins is at least 5'9" or better.
At least.
Even some of their
Or
children
better.
Yeah. It was so bad. Now you want to talk about a dark humor joke? It was
Yeah.
so bad when I was a kid, and I've told this many times on the show. It was so bad when I was a kid that my parents took me to a geneticist because they thought that something was wrong with me. They were like, "He's short." See?
He ain't growing.
Oh, you ready? You ready? What's that say?
6
5'8"
feet,
isn't even that. You're comparing it to like a bunch of like taller people. 5'8's not
That's
that bad. That's like
Listen,
I
tall
think that's
woman.
national average. Like
like I've watched Erin standing in the hall of schools, like with her students, and she's like leaned down on them, and they're all like 6 foot, 6'2".
yeah,
And
I'm
I'm
6'2".
also, and here's the thing, I'm also the youngest of all of them at 45. Everybody else is older than me, so it was
We
always
got
like, I want to hang out with everybody, and they're all like, "Fuck you, you're like, get away,
The
you're just
run
a
of the
kid."
litter.
But
we all
they're
got
all like,
big feet too.
"Yeah, well, you also smell like farts."
Well,
Yeah,
by the way,
I farted.
to go
Absolutely.
back on the YouTube
Yeah,
topic,
but yeah, please.
uh, so what you can expect from the channel,
And it's
I'm
Vice City,
treating
folks. Vice City on YouTube.
yeah, Vice City is the channel. Great name. I don't know how the fuck I got it. I still am thinking that I'm gonna get an email saying that it was a mistake or something because I honestly have no clue how I got it. But that's the YouTube
Motherfucker.
channel. Right now I have 0 subscribers, but what you can expect to see, which I'm putting a lot of quality. I'm buying over $2,000 worth of cameras, and
Holy
microphones
shit.
and stuff like that. I'm investing my own money to have editors professionally do this, and work together as a team because I'm going to learn the basics of editing so I know what I'm looking for, but I don't have the time to learn master editing while I'm making videos because I want them all to be good quality. But the type of stuff you're going to see is, um, I worked a long time as a nightclub promoter, so we're gonna do a lot of stuff in nightclubs in Miami, a lot of the Miami lifestyle on boats and stuff. You're gonna see gorgeous women. I'm gonna show people how to actually
Titties.
walk up to gorgeous women, get 15 of them that you've never met before off of the beach, and take them to a nightclub and get a $10,000 table for free and party your ass off. Where it would normally cost you 15, 20 grand to do that, and you would have to meet all these girls. I'm literally going to show people how to do this from beginning to end. I'm going to have stand-up clips. We're going to do really original prank ideas that I have a bunch of people working on. It's going to be a mix of a lot of things, plus vlogging in between. But it's going to be a lot of that like super exaggerated Miami lifestyle, a lot of fun, just a lot of jokes constantly going around. Me and my friends just always we do
Bulls
this
affects
anytime
it.
we're walking around in public and stuff. We see people, we say things, we fuck with people all the time. It's gonna be all good. Once we get the money to, I want to do like just randomly walking into car dealerships and buying people's cars and stuff. Like I want to be able to do that stuff once I get the money to. So it's going to be one of those big channels. We're putting the effort behind it. We're treating it like a business. We have a business plan written out and we're all following it. I have 4 or 5 people that are going to be characters on the channel as well, and they're everyone has their role and everyone's playing it, and we will take 3 to 5 weeks shooting one scene, one film, just to get it right. Like I don't care. I'm a stickler when it comes to quality. When it comes to stuff like that, like I am so big on form and quality and everything being done right and the way I see it that I will take my time. I will dump all of my savings into making sure that
He's
something
a
comes out the way I believe it
he's a
should.
less is more type of guy.
I'm less is more as long as that less is perfect. Like I don't like Keith has the opposite version of me
Like a
where he's
Rush
just like,
album.
yeah, yeah. Keith does the opposite where he's like, I'm just gonna anything I see on TikTok, I'm
Just
stitching
funny.
it. He's like the next thing I see, whatever it is, I'm gonna stitch this one and just throws it
I've
up. He's
thought
like
about actually
two
doing
post
a
day,
video of that. Like I could
which
go through reels on Instagram and I make 10 funny videos in 10 minutes. I
which
promise,
it
and get
does
a
make
hundred
sense
thousand
for
views.
a certain level of
You get
algorithm and
how many
stuff like
views?
that.
Probably 100,000.
See, that's a whole thing that we at some point we're gonna have to talk about. So I love if you didn't see him and Keith's seen him, and I love Keith because at least he likes my stuff because out of sympathy. But
I like you.
I love that statue filter. on TikTok.
You
Yeah, I've
really
seen.
do.
I
know you
love
do.
that thing. Listen to me. This is the most amazing thing ever. And my wife's like, my son looked at it the other day. He goes, "Why did you make Julius Caesar French?" And I went, "I don't know, because it's shit work."
If
Oh,
you
I know
only
you
knew.
are. You are all stinky Americans. Listen to you. That like you. This is crap, and I love it. But
So
Keith will tell you, I'm the guy that goes, "Well, I'm making a video about this. The algorithm should be this," and he goes, "Murph, you suck at this."
I've never seen anybody be more naturally wrong about an inclination.
I can't. I'm not good at it.
yeah,
I'm talented. I'm going to tell you right now, and I firmly believe this, and I don't give a shit what anyone says.
You should.
Joe Rogan's not talented.
He is in his way of being a kind
he's
of
talented in a lot of
listener.
Listen to me. I watch him on the hunting shows. I love Meat Eater, the hunting show. That's where he gets all of his, like, eat elk and eat this animal and that animal. Listen to me. You know what he is? He's a
Hungry.
big son of a gun who.
Well, hold
who
on, because it depends what we're talking about. He's been doing comedy for 30 years, and he's a
his
black
comedy is
belt.
amazing. I used to love his
He-
stand-up.
He's also a black belt in jiu-jitsu under Eddie
Thank you.
Bravo,
He used
and
to tell
took
the
him
most amazing
11
stories.
years to go from. It took him 11 years to go from brown belt to black belt. I guarantee you, and I'm a
not
black
fighting
belt in
him.
Taekwondo.
I got guns.
I'm a black belt in Taekwondo. I've seen his kicks. He has technique. So it depends what we're talking about specifically.
Yeah.
So
No,
he
no.
is talented in
Hold on.
something.
I'm not fighting him. I am so shaning him. You know what it means to shane somebody? You ever watch Walking Dead?
Game
No.
of Thrones. Shame.
I've seen it a couple times, but didn't
Shaning
get into it.
somebody in Walking Dead is when you shoot them in the knee and let the zombies eat them, so you can get away.
Oh, okay.
That's shitty.
That is shit. Oh, you got to see it. Shane does that to a guy. He like shoots him in the knee and then runs off. But
Such a shame.
Hilarious.
But and this is what I mean, from a podcast standpoint, I think I'm every bit as good as he is. I just don't take DMT or eat pure elk meat or any of this.
Hey, well, you never tried it either.
Also,
you could really expand your
also,
horizons.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to go through it, you also weren't there, like it being like the originator of podcasts. You don't have 2,000 done, like
originator of podcast,
the biggest guest
Kevin
of
Smith.
all time,
Kevin Smith.
Of course, but I'm saying like of mainstream podcasting.
He wasn't
and like,
either.
Yeah, I
He
think
was
his
not
was the first
either.
one to really take off. Like, there's none at that big of a level.
Andy Dick
and
had
maybe,
one.
and I'm ignorant because I don't know, but I'm thinking from the views of like the mainstream audience of not people who are like super into podcasting, just people who like casually watch. I think he's the big name when you think of podcasting.
He's a big name because he had a TV platform to promote him.
Well, also, but before that,
he was UFC plus comedy. I mean, he does like 5 different things at once. So
thank you.
Yeah, one of those things is bound to be a home run.
Listen to me. I'm not fighting his thick neck ass. I'm not fighting him.
I
got 20 years in the Marine Corps. I learned what air superiority means. Carpet bombing.
Yeah. I hate carpet.
But no, what I'm saying is, and the reason I bring that up is I actually do listen to his show and I do find him entertaining. And he does have the ability to get to some really amazing guests.
So,
but the two of you have another talent, and I know I keep saying I want to put a bow on this thing, but the two of you have a really amazing talent for your social media platforms that are impressive. And Keith, my cousin Erin, wanted to let you know that she's smoking also.
You are smoking, girl.
I would be smoking if I didn't have COVID. Matter of fact, I should take a dab.
This is dark humor and so uncomfortable. But how do you get your I hate to say message because that just sounds stupid, but
how do I put Keith into everybody's eyes?
Right, like I keep telling Keith he just needs to do all my posts for me. Dibs will make the post. Keith will go ahead and post it for me and put the right stuff in there. And then I guess I gotta get Drew to go ahead and say something about the shit so that all of you will come out and
Well,
listen.
ask
But
Keith what happened when I first created TikTok with 0 followers.
would
Like,
you have like 11,000 downloads or some stupid shit like
Oh,
that?
it's more.
my first video ever on TikTok in 30 minutes. I had 0 followers. I had just made it, and then I posted a video, and it wasn't even good quality. I just wanted to post, and I didn't think anything of it. But like, if I could go back in time, I would have posted like more recent clips or just better clips, better audience reaction, and me not trying jokes for the first time. Like, I have a bad habit of just like wanting to post these jokes so quickly because I have pride in them. But my first ever post on TikTok, I have 0 followers, 0 posts. I'm following 0 people. Brand new account. I just made it. I make a post. Nothing happened. And then in 30 minutes, I have 80,000 views in 30 minutes. And then it gets deleted for hate speech. My joke was, and I stand by it to this fucking day, it's one of my favorite jokes that I've ever written because it's fucking smart and it's dark as hell. And so my joke was, did you know, and this is true, I worked with a bunch of Orthodox Jews, so I know this to be a fact, that if you're Jewish and you have a single tattoo on your entire body, they will not allow you to get buried at a Jewish cemetery. I
Absolutely.
guess that's why every Jew with a tattoo on their wrist got cremated. And so that's the joke. It got me in trouble. But then I post another joke, and that one is still online. That one's the one where I go, I just recently broke up with my girlfriend because she kept gaining weight. And I know that makes me sound like an asshole, but in my defense, I'm not ready to be a father.
Yeah.
That one's still on TikTok. It has like 230,000 views. I have another one that I did a Kobe Bryant joke, and that one got like 60,000 views. So like these things all climbed up, and then I had a couple others that were like climbing really high up, and they all got deleted. I have like 7 or 8 that got deleted, so now I'm completely shadow banned. But that's when I
That's the
realized that
funny thing,
there's
shadow
an
ban.
audience for this.
Shadow ban's a whole thing in and of itself.
Yeah,
Well, that's what
it's
happens
very
when you piss
annoying.
off the algorithm.
Yeah.
Keith
I
will
pissed
teach
them
me about
off.
the algorithm. He teaches me about it all
I
the time.
I
It's
pissed them
always
off big
changing.
time. So with me, it's but I learned because I also got some things deleted on Instagram, and now I know that I can hook people in with some somewhat dark jokes and pretty dark jokes for the average audience. But if you like that, then come see me live. I'm giving you a reason to pay for me because what I say on stage is 10 times. They will not allow me to put this on social media. I will get in trouble if I put this on social media. So if you want to hear like no holds barred, come pay and see me live, and that's where you're really gonna get it. So it almost works in my favor because I'm gonna post some somewhat taboo stuff for the average public, but the really
No, you won't.
outlandish crazy shit, that's gonna be live, and you have to pay for it.
Oh man. Oh shit. Where am I still here?
The
You're
fuck?
still there.
Oh.
Haha. I wanted to see if something worked. This was a moment.
Oh,
This was a moment of me playing with.
I got confused, Sean.
So, all right.
This is
So,
a COVID dab for the boys.
Oh,
are you
oh,
dabbing right now?
before you end it,
Hold on a
I
second.
had
My man has got COVID and he's
COVID
dabbing.
dabs, baby.
yeah,
Yeah,
but that will do.
someone mentioned that Keith was smoking and then someone else was smoking, and now I feel left out, and so I'm taking a COVID dab for the
Peer
boys.
pressure.
What are we working with? What are we working with?
Some live resin.
Oh, I'm so not. I'm not that guy.
Sean, hey, no, never mind.
I'll mute my mic so you don't hear the fucking torch, but keep talking.
Is that what
Oh,
you use as a torch? Hold on, leave the torch
yeah,
going. Leave it going. Open your fucking. Stop being
everyone.
soft. Stop being
This is
super
how to
soft here, Drew.
this is how to smoke crack cocaine with Drew, the
Stop being
comedian.
super soft. You got it muted, Drew. Can I unmute you? I can't unmute him. Stop
Oh,
being
we're
so.
muted. So this is how we
took
do
some
it.
lessons from Drew. Oh, step by step shit.
Hold on a second. Wait a second. Maybe my cousin is smoking what I thought she was smoking. Maryland, that
Yeah,
shit's legal in.
hell yeah. What up,
This is
Some
Miami.
cuz.
It's not legal. It's not legal, but it's
guys?
Not
not
legal in
illegal.
Florida.
It's legal medically, but like you're crazy if you're gonna go get a medical card because medical shit is garbage. I can get way better shit off the street and way cheaper.
Hey, I got a great story from one of my buddies getting a medical card. He went up to
Go ahead, Keith.
Michigan. He went up to Michigan whenever they first started legalizing it medicinally, And he told us we went in and actually to the waiting room together, and I heard him say this. The doctor comes in and said, "What's wrong with you?" And he said, "I got these growing pains, doc." We were 19 and 20 years old. And the doctor, I swear to God, looked at him and said, "Son, nobody needs to live like that." And just wrote it out for him. And we got stoned to shit and took our happy asses back to Kentucky.
Yeah, what'd you think? You actually needed glaucoma? Like, no, dude.
Growing pains.
Yeah, man. You can literally say anything.
I know,
Be like,
stupid. It's like,
it hurts when I don't smoke weed because I like weed. Like, they'll
yeah.
give it to you.
Like, I sometimes get anxiety thinking about flying on an airplane.
Also, I'm gonna cough like a motherfucker because I'm sick.
Well,
But
that's what I'm about to say. You have a lung disease that's killing people, and you are about to put that shit in there.
yeah,
And the iron lung.
I just had surgery on my nose as well because I've gotten it
What?
broken so many times, and
Man,
I
Why did you have
also
your nose
have.
broken so many times? Hold on a sec. Did we have our nose broken so many times because of dark humor?
How do you
No,
break in
no, no,
something
no.
that's cartilage?
I've never gotten into a fight from comedy.
He talked about Joe Rogan. That was a big Joe Rogan thing. Was he used to do his comedy, and people would be like, "Hey, man, you can't say that," and he'd be like, "Look, bro, back off," and people would like come at him, and he
Oh,
would
I'm
beat
Joe
people up.
Rogan. I'll kick you in half.
Right? Like Joe's a bad dude, but I'm
Yeah.
still a better podcaster.
Well, see, Joe's got this amazing like skill of not ever giving up, even when everybody's telling him what he's doing is a stupid thing.
Well, I remember watching him on radio. What was it? Radio
Watching him on
TV.
radio.
What the hell was the name of that show he was on?
News radio is what it's
News
called.
Radio. Thank you. It was actually a good
And
show.
and that's what made Joe Rogan so successful with podcasts is that so many people told him when he'd started it, you're fucking retarded. And he just kept doing it. And he literally in his first podcast didn't even have sponsors, didn't have any views, and just kept getting better at it. And then
It was with
now
Red Band, wasn't it?
yeah, and now he gets $100 million a year on just the Spotify deal, not even the sponsors on top of that. So like
I thought the Spotify deal was 30 million.
100 million.
That's where I
was
need to be.
100 million, and that's not including the sponsors that Spotify still allows him to have. Plus, he has his YouTube channel where he can post clips of the podcast, which has like
That's not
10 million subs on his YouTube channel. So like
that's
that
not
motherfucker
that's more than
has
fuck
him-
you money.
Yeah, there's at least 150, 160 million dollars coming from that podcast annually.
See, that's where I need to be.
Yeah, we'll get you there, Sean. Don't forget about me though.
Well,
We
look,
need
I
a
always
Carlos
tell
Mencia.
all my guests this, and I've had some pretty famous Hollywood. Neil DeMonte does his own thing in Hollywood. He's been there for 20 years. All these different people's Emmy Award winners. And I'm going to tell you this, Drew. Same thing I told Keith. When you get your first red carpet walk, I just want to be your plus one.
I got you, bro. I got you.
Plus one.
I'm flaky.
You
Easy. I would probably do some. I would need someone there anyways to film because I'm gonna probably do some wild shit at the red carpet. Like I'll literally be like, I'll be fucking with people and shit.
Holy shit! Is that Drew? He's got Pitbull filming.
So we got Drew the comedian on Instagram.
On Instagram, Vice City is the YouTube channel.
The YouTube
which it's
channel.
coming. We're praying for December, but we really want to take our time, quality over quantity. And I know that the YouTube algorithm is really strong on it's big on a lot of things, but it's big on consistency. And so we're going to be dropping a video every single week, same time, same day of the week, every single week. So in order to do that, I don't want to be putting out bad content just to come out with videos. So I'm going to take my time, film 10 at least, have them already uploaded and ready and on private, and then I'm going to make them public at that time, at that day. I don't know if it's going to be a Monday, a Tuesday. It's probably going to be something in the beginning of the week because I just think that that's when people like need stuff to watch. So something like that, but we're taking our time with it so we can have 10 videos and we don't have to play catch up. We're just shooting videos for the future from then on. So we're shooting for December. It's a optimistic goal, but December, January, we should have content actually going up on YouTube. And if you guys know any editors, if you guys know any, I've spoken to a couple people. I'm building a team, so I am paying for work because I understand how important it is to be an artist and get paid, whether it's just a little bit, some sort of appreciation for your work. But yeah, like I fucking did was I didn't even ask him to do like half the shit he did, and he
He's
was
a
like
fucking
was
ninja.
sent, yeah, he was sending me shirt ideas and shit. I sent him $25 this morning because I understand like what it is to be an artist, and like you got to give back to art.
That
So like
means a
I
lot,
complete
bro.
and it means a lot to me that someone would do that for me. So I'm a very giving and I'm a very loyal person. If you got my back from the beginning and you believe in my vision and you trust in me, reach out to me. I will pay you for your work when I can pay you more and when I can do more for you, and when this thing scales and grows. I'm gonna get you a fucking Tesla for your birthday, and you with 50 grand cash in it. Like it's gonna be big. I trust me. I have this vision, and I know it's gonna be big. I know that like when I post my TikToks and I got millions of views, there's a market for what I do. I know that
And
there's
that's
an
really,
audience out there.
bro, hold on a sec. You had over 1 million views on
In one week.
TikTok and never showed your boobies.
Never showed my boobs, didn't do any stupid ass dances, just told jokes on videos that I didn't even like. I just posted them up there to have something to post. And I got 1 million views in a week.
Incredible.
Most of it's deleted now. There's still like 300,000, 400,000 views on my TikTok, but most of it's like all private now because it's deleted. But I got all that with zero previous following, anything like that. And so I know that there's a demographic and a market for what I do. Now I'm just going to do it smart, and I'm going to just take my time with everything I do, and I'm going to produce quality. But
And just like that, we lost Drew. It was great that Drew was going to produce quality. We lost him. I don't know
Yeah,
what just happened.
he died, Sean. That's what
Drew just
happened.
died.
So
Well, at least
it's a
so let's talk
blue.
about you and my cousin Aaron here for a minute. I'll
Yeah, let's
watch
do
you.
it.
I know some people. If I think you are funny enough, I will put you in contact with a few people. See where it goes. See, like Drew's like way close to the look. Now we got him. We lost
Ah,
yeah, I don't know what
Drew.
happened there.
You were like way into it, like you were so high. But my cousin Aaron
I know.
does know people. Like I have a weird family. That's a whole conversation. So we got where we can find you. We know where we can find you. We're gonna make this happen.
Aaron, I
Drew,
appreciate
here's
that. Let
another
me
one
let
that I
me
put
let
on
me
the
say that.
red carpet. I put you on the red carpet list, bro. Everybody that comes on here, I tell them the same thing. When you hit it big, I just want
remember
to
me.
walk one red
I'm
carpet.
not I'm
You can
not
tell
gonna
my son,
forget. Listen, I'm not gonna forget about Uncle Sean. I got you.
look, Uncle, fuck, I'm 20 years older than you. I guess I am an uncle. I could be old enough to be your dad.
Uncle
Where's
Sean.
your mom? Where's your mom at?
Yeah.
Old Shunkle.
I have been in Jacksonville, Florida a few
my
times. Let me talk to you
my
for a
dad
minute
was
here.
probably in the Marines at the same time as you were. Come to think
He
of it.
probably was. Now that you mention it, let me talk to you a minute here. Let me tell you
Yeah.
about your daddy. Let me let you know who your daddy
Exactly.
is. Let me get this
Yeah.
voice real
You
deep.
definitely outranked him because he was constantly getting in trouble for shit.
Oh,
So
look, God, look. There used to be a saying in the Marine Corps that Chesty Puller, the most well decorated, most well known
yeah,
senior Marine in all of the
the
Marine Corps,
animal. Yeah,
it would
Brigadier
never
General
be able
Chesty.
to survive in today's Marine Corps. Uh,
No, and Chesty was
so
shot
my
like
cousin,
11 times or some shit. Like,
well, Chesty Puller's like the coolest thing about Chesty Puller ever was during I believe it was the Korean War. He walked out of a tent and somebody was like, "We're completely surrounded." He's like, "Okay, now we know where the enemy is. That solves that problem." Like, how fucking badass are you? Like, and
yeah,
I personally have never known any Marines, but I've heard plenty of stories where when he lived in DC before he passed away, that Marines used to just go and knock on his door and be like, "I'd like to meet General Puller." And his wife would open the door and they would come in and they would sit and talk to General Puller. I can't even explain to you as a Marine what that would be like to sit down with Chesty Puller and just say, Thank you.
It'd be like a Buddhist sitting down with the Dalai Lama. Like,
Is he still alive?
it would be that equivalent.
Jesse Pullard passed
No.
away in the late
Yeah.
80s, early
And
90s.
Oh,
I'm not even a Marine, but hearing the stories from my dad, I know what a deity Chesty is, and then what a badass also. Like,
Right.
not only like is he looked up to, but he deserves it, all of it, and probably more. Like, but I did want to say one thing. Aaron, you said you're gonna look at my comedy. Keep an open mind. It is dark. We've been speaking about that.
wide open.
It's fucked up, but
You have no idea.
it's well done. It's well written. If you know anyone you can put me in contact with, I'm always down to network. If it's a bigger name, I will open for them for free. I don't need the money. I make good money on my job, and I have side hustles as well, like club promoting and stuff. So like, I will go fly out to LA to open up for someone for free. I want to grow what I'm doing, and I believe in what I'm doing. I'm not looking for pennies right now or anything like that. Let me network. Let me work my magic and stuff like that, and I'll grow
what
and
it's
I'll
all
get
about.
paid for the fruit of my labor later. Yeah,
So
I'll get the money
I
later.
will tell you, Drew, look through my Instagram and look up Scott Edwards. I'll put you in.
Scott
Remind
Edwards.
me, don't let me forget.
Scissor
I
hands?
will
No, I
send
won't.
you an email and I'll put you in contact with Scott Edwards. That's my comedy guy. That's my
Thanks.
like doing 300 downloads. Our Scott Edwards is doing 300 downloads a week on his podcast. He does a lot of like already pre-done shows that comedians have done and then rebroadcast, but he also talks to some of those guys. He just knows a lot of folks. So we have
And ask
Instagram.
Keith. Keith has heard a bunch of my jokes that I don't even have filmed yet. Like, I have some stuff that's just like my stuff I have posted looks bad in comparison to it because everything I write is just getting better and better. And I've been writing for 4 or 5 years, but I've only been performing for 2 on stage, not even. And so I took a lot of time to write before I ever got on stage, mainly because I was a pussy. But once I got on stage and realized that there's actually a market for what I'm doing, I literally I hit the floor running. And so there's a lot of stuff like I can literally do 30 minutes of solid material if someone needs me to. So I will work with any comedian as long as I, benefit from it and just exposure. I don't need the money. I just want exposure. I'll get my own money later.
Nice. Well, look, this is definitely one of those shows that can go on forever. And that's
For
these are
sure.
my favorite shows. They can
We'll
just
have to
keep
do a
going.
part 2 sometime.
We will definitely do a part 2.
But do it.
Everyone needs to go find Drew at Drew the Comedian. Everyone needs to go find Keith at Keith Burr on Instagram. The Facebook is God. You changed it again, didn't you? What's the fucking
Yeah.
Facebook?
It's probably Keith Burr.
It's still Keith Burr, but Keith is like my undercover podcast brother from another mother in another country. It's Kentucky.
It's another life.
Keith ranks in like the top 5. He's in my top 5. Like if we were in the circle, you remember when he used to have the circle of people you
Yeah.
Keith would be
MySpace.
That's MySpace and T-Mobile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Top 5. Keith would be in my 5. We'll keep keeping.
Hell yeah. Thank you, Sean. You're
And
probably
Aaron loves your confidence. I love my cousin Aaron. She is on it tonight. But
Joe Rogan
as
just got
always-
money. He just said on it.
So, as always with us folks, if you were listening to this and you're watching the show, which I appreciate you watching, take your phone out, open up your podcast app. If you don't have a podcast app already on your phone because you're using an Android phone, make sure you go ahead and download a podcast app like Google Podcast, and make sure you're subscribing and following the Above the Bar podcast. If you're going on to Instagram, make sure you take that moment. You go on to Instagram, you look up the Above the Bar podcast. Once you find me, you'll find at Drew, you'll find Keith Burr, you'll find all of us on there. I'm gonna have to beat my cat up here in a minute. He's trying to get into my comic book rack. Make sure you take a moment.
And this podcast is way better than Keith's.
Yeah.
So
Keith used to, well, Keith may end up being my co-host. We'll see what happens. We just got to get him like a good camera, and a good location.
Ain't happening.
All right, fuck it.
Yeah,
And then,
anywhere out of
as
fucking
always,
the
we're
South.
on Twitter at the Above the Bar 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then our email. If you like this, you have something that you want me to go ahead and talk about, you have something that you would like me to promote, I'm cheap. I'll do that shit for free.
I'm
The email is,
expensive as fuck.
I know. Well, some of us are expensive whores and some of us are cheap whores.
Yeah.
Either way, you're still what?
Whore.
There you go.
I knew it.
Rogan started with dick pills, so.
All right.
Hey,
All about the
I
Viagra.
gotta before we jump out of
No,
here.
I just wanted to say the Above the Bar podcast at gmail.com. What did you want to say?
Oh, Drew don't know what the fuck he's talking about. I got a great podcast. All right, he's been on a couple times. Maybe he's bringing it down.
And I haven't been on the one with Paul yet, but I do want to get on that one. I got plenty of gay jokes for Paul.
Oh, Paul's not in it anymore. It's all me.
Oh, he's
now.
not?
Yep.
Okay.
He said that he had some like obligations comedy wise. He is really getting a lot more exposure and attention, which I can understand. I wouldn't want to do some podcast either if I were him, and I'd focus on that fully. But this is like my baby. It's called Cross Examination. It's on literally every platform, and it's fun. It's pretty much just me grilling the shit out of people for 10 episodes with my co-host Paul. We're considerately inconsiderate to a bunch of people. We just look at the episode titles if you give it a chance. Like that should be enough to hook you in. I write all that shit. I do the editing, and now it's me. I've got a bunch of guest comedians, guest hosts coming up soon, and it's good.
I'll be
it's
on there
something
soon.
Yeah, he will if you act right, and if it's just it's something I'm proud of. Like I actually listen to it myself.
It's a
And
good
I hate
podcast.
myself. Yeah.
I've jumped on there without even being on the podcast, so that takes a lot for me to do. And Sean, honestly, I said it earlier that he's one of the most professional podcast hosts I've ever worked with, and I've done quite a few podcasts, but this guy's on his shit. Like this guy's gonna blow up. He's really, really, really. He takes this shit seriously. Anyone else, I would have canceled because I was feeling absolutely horrible before starting this shit. But Sean calls me and I take a Xanax and a dab and I'm good to go.
Xannies and a dab and we all feel better. We could end all war. Xannies and a dab.
That's a good one. That's a
and
good
I think
way
that's
to
a
end
great way to sign off. Yeah,
all right,
that's
Keith,
a great way to sign off.
Word,
I appreciate you having me.
Keith, what's your last words, brother?
Something cool.
All right. And as the guest there, Drew, you get the final word. What is it?
You want me to end it with a joke, or
you can end it with whatever you want? You get the final word, brother.
You got sugar.
All right, let's end it with a joke. This one's one I'm working on right now. It's not finished, but you guys are going to get some behind the scenes footage. And before I say this, because people are going to definitely tune out.
Do not log off after I close this.
Yeah, bar snacks,
okay.
bitch.
All right, I'll stay. So this is some behind the scene information. I have this on film, so nobody can steal the joke. So it's already on film. But this is the one I'm working on. Follow me at Drew the Comedian, because I know people are going to hang up after I say this joke because it's terrible. But I don't know why there's a huge debate in this country about civil rights. Like, of course, black people have rights. Of course, black people have rights. They have the right to remain silent, the right to an attorney. All right, that's it. I'm done.
I love that one. Yeah, you told me that the other day.
This has been an Earplug Podcast presentation. Found on earplugpodcast.com, iTunes, SoundCloud, and wherever your favorite podcasts are found.